Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Draka Tadrishyam Draktumanasam Drishyadi Vrittaya Sakshi Drage Vanatu Drishyate. Okay. We have been seeing different types of meditations. Yeah. And these meditations in this text are classified as 6 different types. And I'll show you. These are the 6 that are given. These meditations are called samadhi, and they are divided into 2 types. One with our attention turned within, and one with our attention turned outside. So, Hridi or Antar is within, and Bahi is outside. Within these 2 groups, there are further 3 subdivisions. One is with duality called Savikalpa Samadhi, and that Savikalpa Samadhi can be associated with objects that are seen. Savikalpa Samadhi associated with words or statements. And then there is a Nirvikalpa Samadhi. We have seen 1 and 2. And today we will see number 3. So last 2 weeks we have seen that turning our attention within, we are able to either practice that Savikalpa Samadhi by becoming witness. And when we become the witness of all our thoughts and see them as objects, then that is called Savikalpa Samadhi, Drishanuvit, associated with the scene. Last week we looked at meditation within, but based on words, called Shabdanuvit. And this is where we take a mantra or a statement and we repeat that statement, but with deep contemplation, not mere repetition. So in this Shabdanuvit Savikalpa Samadhi, person must have a deep knowledge of the statement. They must understand it in its entirety. So Shravana, Manana must be done. Yeah. This is not a japa mantra. This is not a mere repetition. So there must be a lot of knowledge behind that. And that's what we saw last week. Asanga Satchidanandaha Swaprabho Dvaita Varjitaha Asmiti Shabdaviddoyam Samadhi Savikalpakaha. Okay. So now we have the next one. The next one is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So this now is Nirvikalpa Samadhi associated with inward attention. Okay, this is verse 26. I'm going to put this up.
Svanubhutirasaveshad Drishya Shabdavupekshatu Nirvikalpa Samadhisyan Nivatasthita Deepavat.
So here, third type of meditation giving is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And what it means is, let's take this translation. However, the non-dual state of meditation is like a flame in a place free of any wind. On account of complete absorption in the bliss of self-realization, having ignored both the seen and the words. Okay, so what is the nature of this Nirvikalpa Samadhi? Now, first thing to understand is the difference between Nirvikalpa and Savikalpa. We've discussed this, and the main thing to understand is that Savikalpa Samadhi is a practice. It is something that you are trying to do. Yeah, it is a doing thing. So in Savikalpa Samadhi, there is doing. You are putting forth effort, you are practicing. Yeah. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a state. It is a state of realization. So in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is no effort. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the end. That is the goal. Savikalpa Samadhi is the path. It's the final end of the path. Prior to that, there is Mananam, Shravanam, and prior to that, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and various other Chitta Shuddhi sadhanas. Yeah? So our spiritual journey may start with Seva, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all these things, and finally they will take us towards Jnana Yoga. In Jnana Yoga, we do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, and that's where the path ends, and the final rest house or the final abode is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the goal. It is not a means. Okay, so that's the first thing to understand. So now, how do we get absorbed into this state of bliss? Yeah, or this realization? How do we get absorbed into realization? And how do we give up doing? See, this is one of the things, because our mind is so fascinated with doing because of habit, karma vasana. Because of our karma vasanas, we enjoy doing. Therefore, to come to a state of complete rest and abidance is sometimes difficult because we like to do. And that's why if you see the first word of this verse, Swanubhuti Rasa Veshad. Swanubhuti Rasa Veshad is made of three words. Swanubhuti, Rasa, Avesha. Swanubhuti, Rasa, Avesha. Three words. I'll just put that text up there again for you to see. So if you see here, there's three words. Swanubhuti, Rasa, Avesha. The word Swanubhuti means pure consciousness. Shuddha Chaitanya. The word Rasa means Ananda. Atma Ananda, bliss. Aveshad, complete absorption. Okay, complete absorption. So it's a very powerful statement. Because of the complete absorption into pure consciousness and supreme bliss, one attains Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Yeah, there is complete absorption into pure consciousness and supreme bliss. One gets into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which means in order to give up this karma vasana, we must pursue bliss. It is finally bliss that fascinates and satisfies us. It's the only way to stop the journey. Otherwise, even in spiritual path and even in sadhana, people keep wanting to do things. That's how they keep asking how to, what next should we do in our sadhana? What else is there for sadhana? What other things can be done for sadhana? These type of doubts will keep coming to us. We keep on having doubts about what more, what else. come up with a new method, a new technique. Come on, Swamiji, do something different this time. Same old thing, meditation. Come on, make it exciting. All this is because karma vasana is here. I want to do something I've been doing for so long, saying things so boring. Now give me something new. Any new tricks there? Any tricks to meditation? Shortcuts. Yeah. So how do we give up this state of doing? And you see, actually giving up this state of doing is very natural. Because actually, if you really look at it, we want to be free of action. Here in our heart, we do all desire to be free of action. But we're very scared that we may not have bliss. So if I give up action and I don't have happiness, then what do I get? Then you get boredom, which is what some people are experiencing in COVID. They get boredom. When you give up action and you don't get bliss, you get boredom. That we don't want. We don't want this boredom. It's such a boring what to do now. I don't know what to do. And so then we get restless. Yeah. However, if we can have bliss, supreme happiness, then we'll be very happy to give up action. We will. Well, fundamentally, we want bliss actually. We do things to get happiness. We are not doing things for the sake of doing. No one is doing for the sake of doing. Nothing is done for the sake of just doing it. It is all done with the aim and intent of gaining a greater depth or quality or quantity of happiness. Everything. Yeah. Whether it's service to other people, whether it is our sadhanas, whether it is enjoying objects, all of it is done with the aim and intent to gain greater depth, quality, quantity of happiness. And that's why I like this verse, because that word rasa is in there. And here the word rasa, rasa means ananda. Yeah, it's a beautiful word. Rasa means essence. You know, the very essence of something is called rasa. Rasa also can mean nectar, that most beautiful elixir. That's why in some communities, everything is sold by rasam. Whenever you're sick, take rasam, just rasam. If you have a headache, rasam. Stomach ache, rasam. Cold and flu, rasam. Broken leg, rasam. Everything is sold by rasam in some communities. Rasam is amritam. Oh, nectar of immortality. Yeah. Now, if we look in the Taittiriya Upanishad, then we'll find this word rasa is defined. Raso vai saha rasaggahyevayam labdva anandhi bhavati khohyevanya kapranya idesha akasha anando nasyat. It's a beautiful portion of the Taittiriya Upanishad. It says, what is that rasa? That Atma is of the nature of rasa. Atma. Raso vai saha. Saha Atma is rasa. And what is this rasa? Rasagam hyevayam labdva. When a person has attained this rasam, anandhi bhavati, he becomes pure bliss. So that's when the Upanishad, it connects. Rasam is ananda. Ras is ananda. Yeah. So, when one gets that ananda, and then it says there, Kohyevanya kapranya idesha akasha anundo nasya. Very interesting rhetorical question. Who is doing anything in this world if it is not for the sake of happiness? That's what it says. Who is doing anything? No one even breathes. We only breathe for the sake of happiness. Everything is done, is driven for the sake of happiness. It is happiness that everything is driven by. Yeah. And so this is something that we need to just pay attention to, because in karma, when we keep on doing things, we get confused and we start thinking that the purpose of doing things is to get some result. I must have a legacy, or I must build something, and it should last forever. Yeah. And we start thinking that's the purpose. That to have some legacy, to do something, which means karma phala. That I want to leave my stamp on this world. Why should you stamp the world, leave the world as it is? Let Bhagavan leave his stamp on the world. You can take your stamp and go. No one, everyone needs your stamp of approval. Yeah. But this drives a lot of people. We're all driven by this need for legacy. This legacy actually is karma phala. Yeah. Really what we are yearning for is actually happiness. People think that by leaving a legacy, they'll be happy. It's called kirti. Kirti means fame. By leaving a legacy, people will remember me. And I did something. It's a strange thought, because you are not there anymore. After you're dead, you're not there. So why would you care what other people think about you? But such a fascinating thing. That our mind is like, no, I should be remembered for all my heroic deeds. And this day, like, what heroic deeds are we able to do now sitting in our house? Washing dishes on time is a heroic deed nowadays. That's very heroic. That's very important. Yeah. Now I say, everyone, stay at home. Your greatest act of heroism, stay in your house. That's it. That's it. If you manage to stay in your house during COVID, you get some badge of honor. The government should give you a badge of honor. That's the greatest heroic deed we can do right now. Get out of the way of COVID. That's the best thing we can do. So now, if we look, one thing is we're to start focusing our attention that in life what we want is happiness. We don't want to do things. Yeah. And behind every doing, it is only pursuit of happiness. So that's one aspect now to start shifting our attention towards happiness. The second thing is that we're to recognize where that happiness is. So that happiness is inside. Raso vai saha, raso vai atma. And again in that Taittiriya Upanishad, Ananda Atma, Brahma Pucham Pratishta. This Atma is Ananda. So we have to recognize the source of all happiness is actually me. I am the source of all happiness. This thought is a very subtle thought. I think this is the most subtle thought there is. I think to understand ourselves as consciousness is easy. To understand ourselves as existence also not that hard. We know that we exist and we know that we are aware. But to know that I am the source of happiness, this thought doesn't quite sit properly. Again, it is purely habit. There's no logic. It is purely habit that I'm so used to doing something, getting something, enjoying that thing, and that's how I got my happiness. Therefore, my happiness is currently associated with doing and getting. Doing, getting, and enjoying. Yeah. But now it's saying, no, happiness is you. You are the source of happiness. Now you have to think. Now there is some logic to this. I had to pay attention. This logic is a little bit subtle. If there's two things we have to understand, right? Currently, we think some object is the source of happiness, whether it is, object can mean anything, time with family, some possession, some distraction, but even name, fame, all these, they're objects of happiness. Okay, all of these come under objects. So we believe if I get a good name, I'll be happy. If my children do well, I'll be happy. If I get this object of desire, new house, new car, I'll be happy. Yeah? That's currently how we're thinking. Now, the question is to ask, is happiness in the object? Yeah? Is happiness in that object? And are you pursuing the object for the sake of object, or are you pursuing object for the sake of happiness? That's the question. Am I pursuing object for the sake of object, or am I pursuing object for the sake of happiness? Now, if you say, I'm pursuing object for the sake of object, that means even if the object doesn't give you happiness, you'll still go after it. That's what that means. That means I'm doing it for the sake of the object. Even if the object doesn't bring any happiness, I will still continue going. That's what it means to pursue object for the sake of object. You know, people use this where they say, I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it. That's not true. And no one is doing anything for the sake of just doing it. We are doing it because it gives us happiness. So we can analyze this and say, okay, let us say I am pursuing an object just for the sake of object. Yeah. Now we'll make it simple. Some food. Yeah. I'm going to make my lunch or dinner or eat some dessert or something like that. Am I doing it for the sake of the object? No. Why? Because when I eat that food, I'll become happy. I'll enjoy it. That person might say, wait a minute, there's so much food that I eat, it tastes terrible only. They tell me to eat my vegetables and all that, and they tell me eat this and that, and bitter gourd is good for cholesterol or something or another, and there's all but it's so bitter. So why am I doing all these things that are unpleasant? I'm eating things which are unpleasant, isn't it? So now how can you say that I'm eating it for the sake of happiness? But even in that unpleasant, isn't there some form of happiness? What? Longer life, healthier life. So you're eating that bitter gourd, so it reduces cholesterol, so you get longer life. That longer life has now become the object you are pursuing because you believe longer life, greater happiness. This is a belief you have when you're young. As you get older, you also start realizing, I don't think longer life is a greater life. Your attitude to life also changes. Yeah. So now, if you take any pursuit you have, you can dissect it down to finally, I am doing this for the sake of happiness. Happiness is primary, object is secondary. And this is something you will have to do. You have to do your own reflection. As much as I give this method of thinking, unless and until you do this, you will not be convinced. And if you're not convinced, you will not get steadiness in meditation. You must understand that. If you're not convinced that you are the source of happiness, you will not have steadiness in meditation, because for steadiness in meditation, you must believe you are the source of happiness. Otherwise, the mind will go out looking for happiness. Meditation becomes boring. Sadhana becomes boring. Yeah, because it's sitting there for half an hour doing nothing. Yeah, and then some people think I'm productive, wasting my time. I'm better off doing some karma only. It's because I cannot sit in the thought. I'm not convinced of the thought that I am the source of happiness. That's why you have to do that exercise. You write down every pursuit you have and honestly ask yourself, am I doing it for that object or am I doing it for happiness? As you keep on inquiring, you all come to the same conclusion. It's done for the sake of happiness. If bitter gourd being unpleasant to eat, and then they tell me there's no health benefit to it at all, then will I continue eating it? No one will continue eating that bitter gourd. If there's no health benefit and it tastes terrible, you're not going to do it. Why? There is no pursuit of happiness in that at all. There's no pursuit of happiness. You know, in Australia, the native animal koala bear eats what? Eucalyptus leaves. Yeah. Now, why don't you go eat eucalyptus leaves? Yeah, you can go eat some eucalyptus leaves. Why? But they taste terrible. Yes, they taste very terrible. Is there any nutritional benefit for human being? None whatsoever. So because there's no nutritional benefit and they taste terrible, no one is sitting in a tree eating eucalyptus leaves. Well, I'm yet to meet such a person. But no one has made that their pursuit of life. I want to be full Australian. I will live like the native fauna, animals, sit in the tree and eat eucalyptus leaves. No one is doing that because there's no pursuit of happiness whatsoever in that. You can't get any happiness. There's no nutrition, there's no health, there's no taste, nothing is there. So if we look at any object, object is pursued because it is a source of happiness. The minute that object is no longer a source of happiness, actually you start rethinking. You really start rethinking, do I need to keep going after this? When you get into a new job, people are quite excited, new job, new challenges, new people, all that type of stuff. And then no more challenges. You're getting used to the job. It's not that exciting, boring, same thing going on, or even it's difficult because, supervisors, maybe there's less supervision, clients, patients are difficult to deal with, lots of headaches, administration, all that type of thing. Then what happens? People give up that job. Yeah? Why? It's too much of a headache, too much stress. That means you're not doing job for the sake of the job. You're doing the job for the sake of happiness. And as long as the job gives you happiness, you continue. And if the job fails to give you happiness or some benefit in some way, financial or recognition, if it fails to give you that, you'll stop doing it. Yeah. Now, same thing with people. Even in relationships. When a relationship fails to give you any more happiness, we don't pursue it anymore. We don't send that WhatsApp message. We don't make that phone call. We don't invite those people to our house. And we become distant. Become distant. Why? Things are a bit uncomfortable now. Something was said and a bit uncomfortable. So, no, I think I can give it a miss. Give it a miss. Yeah, we think give it a miss. Why are you giving that a miss? Because that relationship no longer is giving you happiness. Yeah, these are big cold hard truths, We have to face the cold hard truth. We cannot fool ourselves by thinking we love people for the sake of people. So when relationship fails to give happiness, then also we don't pursue it. So now let us look at this. One equation we have. One equation is, what is the dearest thing to me, object or happiness? Yeah, so my equation now says the dearest thing for me, which means what I'm primarily running after, I'm primarily running after happiness, not object. This is a big thing to become convinced of. Very big thing. The dearest thing to me is happiness, not object. Okay. Now the second component. Second question. Happiness for whom? For whose sake are you doing all this? For whose sake are you pursuing this happiness? Because this is another subtle point. For whose sake? This is a question. Am I pursuing happiness? Because in life, and especially in family life, we do come to live in such a way that we make a lot of sacrifices for the happiness of others. And so there can be confusion because you can be thinking, oh, I'm doing it for other people. Especially in family life. We know at work at the end of the day, most of us are doing it for paycheck. We need paycheck. But in family life, you don't get paid. There's no payment. I don't know if payment is started. Any form of remuneration within your house. Is anyone on family seekers? Job seekers pay now, family seekers pay. You can ask your spouse, give me some family seekers. There's no money. But so now it looks like, Swamiji, you are sounding a bit too cold, huh? A bit heartless. These statements are sounding very heartless, Swamiji. I live to love. These are beautiful poetic sentiments. I live to love, Swamiji. I live to serve. I want to serve people. Okay. It sounds, it's a beautiful poetic statement, but we have to get to the truth, okay? We have to get to the truth. Poetry doesn't always have the truth, you know. We say, that lady's face was as beautiful as the moon. It wasn't really that beautiful. It was okay, but it wasn't that. Chandramukha Shobha, oh, shining like the moon. Not really. A little bit of shine. She put some powder on her face. There's very good lighting in the room. But her natural, I don't think so. Yeah. So poetry and truth, there's a bit of a gap. Yeah, there's a bit of a gap. So when we make statements, I live to love, I live to serve, let's analyze. Yeah. Now we are saying here, am I doing this for my sake or am I doing it for others' sake? Yeah. Now if we look at it, I am doing it for other people's sake. Yeah. Now let us question that. And in family life, tremendous amount of sacrifices are made. Lots of sacrifices by all members. All members make sacrifices. Of course, parents seem to make the most. But there's lots of sacrifices that are made. And sacrifice means what? It's not very pleasant. I have to give up something which is very dear to me for the sake of someone else's welfare. Isn't it? I give up what is dear to me for someone else's welfare. So a simple thing, I want to eat this food, children don't like it, so I can't eat that food. I go. I want to watch this TV program, children don't like it, I can't watch that TV. Yeah? And then larger, I want to enjoy my wealth, I can't because all of them went into educating the children and all that. And even after all their education, they're taking gap years. So I don't know what we did with all the money, but anyway. I made so many sacrifices for you people and you don't even appreciate it. So then it sounds very selfless. But now you have to ask yourself, by making those sacrifices, you have served the welfare of these people. Do you become happier by serving their welfare? Do you gain happiness by seeing them in a better position? That's a question you have to ask. Do I gain happiness by seeing my near and dear ones in a better situation? That means if my kids become very accomplished, how do you feel? This is my child number 1, doctor. Child number 2, doctor 2. Child number 3, surgeon. One is orthopedic, one is cardiothoracic, one is neurosurgeon. You pick which one you want. Which problem do you have? You pick one of my children. And they married doctors as well. I just wanted to tell you that. I just wanted to tell you they married doctors. I'm very happy my doctors married doctors. And they have children. And I think the children want to become doctors. Oh, so very happy. 3 generations of doctors. Yeah, very happy. Now, in their betterment, whether it is financial, prestige, or even just spiritual unfoldment, in any one of them, whether it is they have got better material security, they have got greater name and fame, or they have spiritual strength. Do you become happier? Do you become happier? That's the question. If in the welfare of this person I become happier, then actually I am serving my own happiness. I am serving my happiness. Now you ask, if there are people you don't like, will you go serve their benefit? Now I'm going to make some people up. Don't just take some names. But now let's say Adolf Hitler has got lineage of children, and all of them are dedicated towards that Nazism. Now, will you feel very happy if they have Adolf Hitler Children's Fund? Please donate. Will you donate? You won't donate. Why? Because in their betterment, you don't gain any happiness in the Adolf Hitler Children Fund. You don't see any happiness in that. Yeah. So it's not that we are so benevolent that we are willing to help anyone and everyone. We serve selected people, because by serving those selected people, we gain happiness. We are not willing to serve everyone. So we have to be a bit honest about this. And if you really want honesty, you should read Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. That is very blatant and very straightforward. Upanishad just speaks the truth. And a very strong statement that is given there. It's a very long mantra. It's called Maitreya Brahmana. It's a fifth mantra. It's very, very important mantra. And it says, it goes to all different relationships. And it says, starts with husband. Husband is not dear for the sake of husband. Husband is dear for the sake of self. Then it says wife. Wife is not dear for the sake of wife. Wife is dear for the sake of self. They say children. Children are not dear for the sake of children. Children are dear for the sake of self. And it goes to a massive list. And then finally it says, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. This is a famous statement. Everything is dear only for the sake of the self. It is not dear for the sake of the object. It is dear for the sake of the self. It is dear because it brings happiness to the self. That's what that means. Because it brings happiness to the self, then it becomes dear. So even in the field of service and sacrifice, we are serving and sacrificing because we are gaining from. That our happiness is lying in the welfare of that person, and therefore we serve that person. And this is where we have to be a little bit strong, and in our thinking, we have to be very objective. We cannot succumb to sentiments. You see, here we are inquiring into the truth. When you're inquiring into the truth, you cannot bring sentiments in. As I said, no poetry. You have to be just straightforward. This is how it is, this is how it is. That's the language of the Upanishad. The Upanishad is like that. That mantra is a very strong mantra. It says, nothing is done for the sake of anything else. Everything is done for the sake of oneself. What it's trying to say is, oneself is the dearest. Atma is the dearest. Not somebody else's Atma. My Atma is the dearest. Yeah. This is an important thing to understand. Yeah. That now, who is the dearest? At the end of the day, I am the dearest. I meaning Atma. I not meaning Jiva. Okay, you must understand that. We have two entities. We have Jiva and we have Atma. Here the reference is to Atma. It is not reference to Jiva. If it's reference to Jiva, it just becomes selfish. That's called selfishness. When you say, I put my Jiva in front of your Jiva, then it is selfishness. But here what it's trying to say is, the Atma, the Ananda of the Atma, the bliss of the self drives everything. Therefore, the bliss of the self is the most important thing. Yeah. So now in this second line of thinking, what is the second line of thinking? Who is the dearest? Is it someone else or is it me, the Atma? It finally says, Atma, oneself is the dearest. Okay? So this is the second line of thinking. Oneself is the dearest. What was the first one? Happiness is dearest, not object. So you have two statements. The first statement is, happiness is dearest. in bracket, not object, in bracket. Then second statement, oneself is dearest, in bracket, not others. Now, when you have these two statements, just look at them. Happiness is dearest, oneself is dearest. Then what is the final outcome? Oneself is happiness. You get it? That's how you know I am the source of happiness, because both of them are saying the same thing. Oneself is dearest and happiness is dearest. Therefore, oneself is happiness. Atma is Anand. This is something to put a lot of thought into. This really is one of the most advanced forms of thinking in your spiritual journey. This is the most advanced. Because understanding I am Sat, existence, is not that hard. Understanding I am Chit is not that hard. It's understanding I am Ananda, that is tough. This Ananda, Aham, that is hard. It's a very subtle thought. So now you must meditate upon these two statements. First, you have to do your reflection. You may not agree with the statement. You have to go to reflection first. Mananam. Yeah, so I'm presenting two statements here. One is happiness is dearest, not object, and oneself is dearest, not others. You have to go do lots of mananam on this. Otherwise, you cannot do nididhyasanam. If you can't do nididhyasanam, you're not getting swanubhuti rasa veshat. You're not getting Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Yeah, essential that you do this. This is where to do a lot of critical thinking about our life. Analytical, critical thinking, So, now when we look at this, it finally says, oneself is happiness. Yeah, oneself is happiness. So now, Ananda Atma has been established via logic and your own experience. So through logic and experience, established. Shastra anyway says that. Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishta. Yeah. So it is now being established by Shruti Yukti Anubhuti. Three factors: Shastra, logic, and your own experience. So now we should become convinced, because these three factors are there. When these three factors are there, this is how you form a conviction. And we form this conviction, I am Ananda. Then when you start really becoming convinced of that, you will find your mind will effortlessly turn to that Ananda, because that's what the mind does. The mind is always running after happiness. All you need to do is just point it in the direction of happiness. You don't need to motivate it. Because the mind, its reflex is that. Its reflex is, where is Ananda? I'm going after. Where is Ananda? I'm going after. You have to show where it is. And once your intellect becomes convinced that Ananda is Atma, the mind just follows that. It just runs straight after it. Yeah. Problem is, intellect is not convinced of this. Intellect is still convinced. Financial security, name and fame, legacy, health, all these type of things, benefit of family, all that. That's where intellect is currently sitting. That's why mind keeps going out there. Yeah. But once intellect becomes convinced, no, Ananda Atma. Once intellect is convinced, mind just runs after it. And you will find that your mind will just effortlessly go. Now, as the mind effortlessly goes towards this happiness, what does it give up? It will give up everything else, because mind gives up everything else that is not happy. And no training of the mind is required. It's the nature of the mind to do this. As I said, look at that plate of food. On that plate of food, people always go after what they know what they like, and things they don't like, they just push to the side, they push, and they push to the side. Some children are like that. They know how to mash their food in such a way. They push things, all the things they don't like sit on the periphery, and all the things they like end up eating. Mind is like that. Anything it doesn't like doing, it just will not engage in. We know that we like sleeping. That's why we don't get up in the morning. Yeah. We prefer sitting and eating and watching some TV program. It takes us a long time to get motivated to go back to work. Huh? People don't like exercising, rather sit still. So therefore, you don't need to train the mind. You have to convince the intellect. That's what you have to do. Convince the intellect that Atma is Ananda. Mind will run after it. And it will give up everything else. What will it give up? Drishya Shabda. Drishya Shabdo Upeksha tu. So Upeksha means having given up. So in the shloka, it's saying this. Overwhelmed, absorbed in that bliss of the self, you will end up giving up Drishya and Shabda. What is Drishya and Shabda referring to? Drishya means seeing, Shabda means hearing, but it's actually reference to the Savikalpa Samadhi. Because the previous Savikalpa Samadhi was either Drishya or Shabda. That means either it was based on me, the witness, witnessing thoughts, or it was based on the thought, asangoham, meditating on some mantra. At this state in meditation, even your mind will give up sadhana. Because now you are getting towards your sadhya. Sadhya is your goal. Sadhana is the means. When you get to your goal, you even give up the means. You drive your car to get to your house. Once you get to your house, you get out of the car. So these previous forms of meditation, I am witness, I have to give that up. Asangoham, brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi, give that up. Even that will go, and finally just full absorption in Swanubhuti Rasavesha. Avesha, fully absorbed. Avesha is a beautiful word. Love that word. Avesha. Vish means to enter. Pravesha, you heard pravesha, gruha pravesha, entrance into the house. It comes from the same dhatu. Vish means to enter. Vishati, he enters. Avesha, entering extremely well. Fully absorbed. So avesha, absorption. I mean, when something is there and you jump into it, now you are saturated on all sides by that. On all sides. You know how people get into ocean or swimming pool? Have you seen? There are two types of getting in. There's the slow getting in, and then there's avesha. The slow getting in, the people walk and they put foot ding on the wall. Woo, it's cold. And then they come back out. And they go back in. Put ankle, woo, come back out. And then put knee, woo, come back out. This is kind of like our sadhana. We go in and then come back out. Go in and come back out. It's okay. As long as you finally get there, doesn't matter. There are some people, they say, nah, enough. They no, they just walk, they just jump straight in the ocean. No matter how freezing it is, they jump in. And initially, this chill hits them. And then after that, they're just sitting in there. Up to their neck. They're in there. And then they say, come on, come. They invite everyone else to come in. Now they say, oh no, it's too cold. It's too cold. No, not today. Therefore, why did I end up here? Same way with avesha. Swanubhuti rasavesha. Let your entire antakarana fully get absorbed in this avesha. When antakarana gets fully absorbed into that rasa, ananda, bliss, it just dissolves actually. It no longer remains. Antakarana goes. All that is there is Swanubhuti rasa. Pure Satchidananda consciousness. But that's it. Nothing else. No jiva is there anymore. It's gone. Why? Avesha. Saturated, absorbed, drunk, drowned, immersed. These are all the words they use. In Bhakti Shastra, this word also comes. That's why there's a beautiful shloka in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam, this type of language will come. This is rasa. It says, Uttama shlokasya bhagavataha Srimad Charnar Vind Makaranda Rase Aveshita Chetasaha. What is the nature of those Paramahamsa? Paramahamsa sadhus? Their mind is Aveshita Chetasa, fully absorbed. In what? The rasa of the Makaranda. That means the essence, sweetness of nectar, Makaranda, of the Aravinda, lotus, of the Charana, feet of Krishna. Oh God, Bhagavataha. So Bhagavataha Srimad Charana Aravinda Makaranda Rase, Rase in Aveshita Chetasaha. Their minds are fully absorbed. This is how it is given in Bhakti Shastra. So many beautiful and delightful analogies are given. That's why the Bhakti is always seen as like this ocean, and then my mind fully immersed. So it's the same concept. In Bhakti Shastra, we say that Ananda is in God. We say it's in God. We say it's in God, 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 God. That's why yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayet. By any means possible, sink and absorb your mind in Krishna. And then what do they finally establish? Who is that Krishna? The Krishna is Atma only. That's why Bhakti is working the same way as Jnanam, because finally that Bhakti will turn into Jnanam. When he finally says that Charnaravinda Makaranda Rasa, that bliss you have been getting from meditating upon the most delightful, charming, beautiful feet of the Lord, that bliss is you. That's you. Oh. You see why we do that meditation upon the Lord? Because it helps us give up attachment to the world. That's why we do. That's why Bhagavan said, Bhakti to me must be Ananya. Ananya Bhakti. No other thing should come. No part of the world should come. You worship me alone. Srimad Charnaravinda Makaranda Raseya. Then he said, that Ananda of my feet, my form, that you only is you. There's another beautiful shloka I was reading. Barha pida natvarvapuhu karnayo karnikaraha bhibrat vasa kanaka kapisha vaijayantim chamalam randram venur adara sudaya gopa vrindhai ridehi vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravisha Gita Kirtihi. It says there, the full description of Krishna is given as he enters into Vrindavan. As he enters in that Vrindavan, then he's wearing that beautiful silk, yellow silk of Karnaka Kapisha, Bibhat Vasaha. Barha Pidaha means peacock feather. Natavarvapuhu, he is the best of all actors actually. He's playing a part. Natavarvapuhu. Vaijayanti Malam, he is wearing Vaijayanti Malam. But the best thing they said, I like, is Randram Venur Adara Sudaya Puriyan Gopavrandaihi Puriyan. He has got that flute to his lips, and he is filling that flute, Venu, with the nectar of his lips. The nectar of his lips is flowing into that flute. Purayan, it is filled. Adara Sudaya. Adara means lips. Sudha, nectar. Bhagavan is filling. And later on, those gopis, They are so jealous of that. They are jealous of the flute. They say, how this flute, what punyam has it done that this flute is getting our nectar from Krishna's lips, which should be coming to us, but it's going to that. It's such a beautiful sentiment. The whole point is every part of Krishna is this rasa, ananda, madhuram. That's what you have to understand. That's what that Krishna is. Madhuradipate rakilam madhuram. Madhuradipate. You are the adipati of madhuram. You are the lord of madhuram. Madhuram, sweetness, ananda. Akilam madhuram. Everything. All things are only sweet and blissful. That is you. So in bhakti, our entire mind should be merged with God. And then that God we must see as Tattvamasi, you are. That is how the Upanishad works with the bhakti. Yeah. Then when you come to sit for meditation, that love, devotion, that bliss that you are getting in your bhakti, that only you start recognizing as the self. It wasn't anything else. It always was that only. It was that. Kelati mama hridaye Shri Rama. Kelati mama hridaye. What does it say? Kelati, sport in my heart, O Shri Ram. Sport in my heart, play in my heart. Mama hridaye. Hridaye means what? My atma only. You are my atma. You are my atma. So when we become convinced of this sentiment, then our entire mind will just be merged in that. It becomes very easy to give up all other things. And you find your attention then becomes unwavering. Unwavering. Like what? Nivata stita deepavat. Nivata stita deepavat means the flame that is sitting in a protected environment. Vata, wind. Nivata, no wind. When flame is sitting in a windless environment, then that flame is perfectly steady. They said this is what happens. Mind becomes perfectly steady, turned within and focused only on this Swanubhuti Rasa, Atma Ananda. It's the most beautiful state. That state, when you finally get merged into that, that's called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. There's no more effort. We gave the example of getting to sleep and sleeping. All our Savikalpa, all our Chitta Shuddhi, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Swadhyaya, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana preparation. Even Savikalpa Samadhi preparation. And finally in the Savikalpa Samadhi, experiencing so much bliss, Nirvikalpa. You effortlessly go to, like you effortlessly go to sleep. And you can't ask, when did it happen? How did it happen? At that level, how did it happen? It's like, how do you say how you went to sleep? You don't know how you went to sleep. You just merge it into it. It just happened. You just say, it just happened only. Yeah? You're not sitting in your bed going, okay, here's the last thought before sleep. You're not doing that. You're just sitting in your bed and then... Sometimes if you have someone next to you that talks a lot, it can help. Because some people listen to that person talking and that person just like... I have been told that some people say, I can't sleep without that person. I need, even their snoring helps them. They say, without their snoring, I can't sleep actually. So that snoring of that person is the Savikalpa Samadhi for them to get into their Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or different things. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the final state, and in that, no duality. Like in sleep, no duality. There's no world, there's no Jiva, Jagat, or Ishvara. Gone. All duality gone. I alone am. Same way, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, gone. I alone am. But it does, please understand, sleep is not samadhi, okay? Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I gave this example. Oh, yeah, I've been achieving this Nirvikalpa Samadhi every day now for many years. I'm a stern practitioner of it. No. The difference between Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Sushupti, because there are some people that have asked this question and very sincerely thought that state of deep sleep was the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You'd be surprised. Everyone has thought of everything in the Shastra, even this question. And great Mahatmas have written long texts to explain this. Yeah. So although in both states, there's no duality. However, in sleep, there's no awareness. There's no conscious awareness. That's why you see here, Swanubhuti Rasa. Swanubhuti means positively aware, because consciousness. So he's positively aware of that rasa. Whereas in sleep, we enjoy the rasa when we wake up. When we wake up, and oh, I felt so good. At the time, the blanket of ignorance is still there. That's why sleep is tamo vibhuta. It is actually a massive tamas going. So all knowledge is blanketed. But here in samadhi, that blanket is gone. Oh, swanubhuti rasa. So that's how it differs. And you might be wondering, if everything goes, do we come back? First of all, if you have desire to come back, that means you're not ready for Nirvikalpa Samadhi, actually, If your biggest question is, what will I do after I get Nirvikalpa? You're still asking, what will you do? I must have a program. I have now graduated from all this spirituality, and now all satsang. I'm attending 3 classes of yours a week, Swamiji. Now if I get this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, I have 3 evenings that I'm free. Now what will I do on this Samadhi? It's best that I remain ignorant, so I got something to do on a Tuesday night. If these questions are coming, then we are still into karma only. Okay? So first of all, if you have that question, keep doing karma yoga. Yeah? Eventually, this question drops off. What will I do after realization? You are drowned in bliss and there's nothing else you want. There's no need to, do I have to wash dishes still? Do I have to pay my mortgage? Is mortgage still have to be done? You can pay or don't have to pay. It doesn't matter. You have bliss only. Yeah? Realize, master, there are no rules whatsoever. Of course, if you don't pay mortgage, you'll be living on the street. You must understand that. But he doesn't mind that. I'll live on the street. Ratyacharapata virachita kanta. Anyway, okay. Clothes, no clothes. People, no people. He's not bothered. Why? Bliss is what you wanted, and you got the bliss. Never forget, end goal is bliss. Not paying off your mortgage. You must remember that. Okay, so so don't worry about what happens. Just if you're a bit worried about that, if you go into meditation and you're worried that you will end up in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, if this is your primary concern about meditating, don't worry. I can only tell you, don't worry. Of course, if this is your primary concern, it is unlikely you're going to be able to meditate anyway. So you don't have to worry. It won't happen. So, this is now Nirvikalpa. Now we have finished 3 techniques of meditation that are given. 3 more to go. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari